Hello, you're listening to Hibs Talk. I'm your host as always, Gav. Joining me today is Dave.
Alright.
And Stephen.
Hello.
How you doing, guys?
Fantastic.
Good,
Absolute
good.
roasting.
It is warm. Yeah, very warm. First podcast, the three of us in person. I know we're down at Stuart's one, but the first time you have been back at mine since probably, late February or something, the three of us. The original three getting the podcast done at my house. It's been a while.
It has been. And no Empire biscuits because they were sold out.
Well, no, we've got them there. There's two. You just have to fight over them. We'll have Magnums instead.
To be fair, Magnum was a good choice.
Yeah, in this hot weather. Yeah, you can take the Empire biscuits home with you. There's two there.
Well, I'm not going to pass you up on that. I'm taking that Empire biscuit.
So we've got a busy show today. We're going to be talking about a couple of bits of transfer news, reacting to some of the news that came out today and yesterday. Obviously looking back to the Dundee United game, and then we've got the Motherwell game on Saturday, so we'll get cracking on with that. So what's the story with Ross McCrorie?
I was wondering where you were going with that. I like that. It's good. Cute. Well, apparently we've had a bid rejected the night. Yeah. But whether you believe it or no is another matter. I did think 200 grand was quite cheap, low, because he's got 2 years left in his deal. And he was decent at Portsmouth. So
starting with the player, is he what we need?
Yes, in a sense that he plays 3 different positions that you could argue that we do need backup in and depth. So
if he was to sign Stephen, where do you see him coming in?
Didn't I see him coming in?
No, if he was though.
If he was, I don't know. I don't know that much about him. I don't pay much interest in Rangers players. I'd see him right back.
Yeah.
Then now, anyway. Or as another centre half. I don't see him playing in there with Gogic.
Do you see him as an option if Gogic needed a rest or got injured?
Yes. Definitely a bench player.
We're not going to pay 200 grand for a bench player. If you were saying him, he's going to play. I
think he's good. See, he's part of a 3.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be good, and I think he played at Portsmouth last season. Right, but that's the thing though. Like, unless we get rid of Boyle, you've got to take Boyle out of the team to play him.
No, it'd probably be more McGinn, because then you know how McGinn either plays right centre back.
McGinn.
I know, but he plays either right centre back or can switch over to right back quite seamlessly. So
I would play McGinn over McCrorie.
I've not seen enough McCrorie. I mean, Dave, you were saying that though about McGinn. It doesn't. He's very solid defensively, but doesn't offer much going forward.
Yeah, I like McGinn though, because I didn't mind that. Like, he just defends. He does the simplest thing, and he tries like a bear.
Yeah,
I've not got an issue with that at all. I think he was probably up for a player of the match, like man of the match last night against Dundee United. I thought he'd done really well defensively. Yeah.
We'll come back to the United in a minute. So with McCrorie, the story is Hibs have went for him permanently. Apparently, this is just according to reports, he wants a move away from Rangers to kickstart his career. His preference is to stay in Scotland, and he was very interested in Hibs' move. But then reports have now come out this evening that Rangers have rejected a 200 grand bid, and according to Edinburgh Live, the deal appears to be dead.
Interesting. It's just earlier on in the day it was all rosy and looked promising to be done for Saturday, and then now it's dead in the water. I don't believe it'll be completely dead just because a bid's been rejected.
Is it good to see that Jack Ross has sort of been saying, as far as he's aware, like say when people were getting asked about Canberra leaving and other players potentially leaving, if that would free up money to get players in, he was sort of saying no. And then Ron Gordon's came out, they've went for a game of golf, they've had a chat about transfers, and now we're making steps in the transfer market again. Stephen, is that good to see that the owners came across and listened to the manager in terms of what we need?
Yeah, 100%. I think that's what we needed, was a wee bit of reassurance that there was the option of getting extra players in. Got quite a light squad, I would say, at the moment. Could do an extra couple of players, especially looking at the bench in the last couple of games. But like I was saying to you earlier, I think that we do need players that are going to start, and I don't think that McCrorie would be a starter, so I think we could do better.
We'll have to wait and see if anything more comes with it. So, speaking about the squad being light, Adam Jackson has completed a move out of Lincoln. I'm alright in saying this came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Not that I was like gutted or that, but I was
gutted.
No, you weren't. I was gutted.
To be fair, there was a lot of talk of him leaving in January, and then Port just got injured and he stuck around. So was there maybe something that was always kind of in the works?
Aye, but you think because he had a chance and he took his. He was pretty decent in the time, and then we thought, okay, we've actually got a better player here. Hickenbottom wasn't all wrong. So I'm honestly surprised, but it was just fast. It just seemed to just happen. Maybe that's because it was just all kept quiet, and it had been in the pipeline for the last couple of weeks, because we day everything quite quietly. So
yeah, 3 signings in one day. Who's seen that coming? A few weeks ago.
No,
it
exactly.
all kept quiet. So obviously, like I said, knew about Wright was training with us, but other than that, it's sort of Nisbet came out of nowhere.
And the thing was, it was all really early in the day as well. It was all done by lunchtime.
Yeah.
Well, Gogic was later on, but first 2 were done by 10.
Yeah. So just, Dave, you sort of mentioned it there about how the fact he kind of got into the team after Porteous' injury, after struggling to get into the team. I think, remember, he was looking quite decent against Celtic, went off injured, and then after that struggled to get back into the team once he came back from his injury. And then Porteous' injury, sort of, when they changed to the back 3, started to get games. Stephen, what's your thoughts on Jackson's year at Hibs?
I think it was more, he took the same sort of turn as Newell. He went out the team at the start of the season. I think just formation and other players that were in the team around him were better suited to it, and never really got his chance. But like you say, he came in for that game against Celtic. The 18 minutes he played, he was probably the best player on the park. And then came back and just had an absolute storm. Scored a couple of decent goals. Was taking the ball up the pitch and stuff. But yeah, I think it was his comments as well. He had the same sort of approach. He came back into the team and he was saying, I was enjoying playing my football and that again. And then I was surprised.
I think you look at the way Hibs have started in terms of the defence, McGinn has played parts of games at right back, parts of games at right centre back. Hanlon stepped over to left back at times when Doigas went bombing forward. There's maybe, and obviously Porteous is the one in the middle, there's maybe need people that can be a bit more fluid in terms of their positioning in the defence, and Jackson's maybe more of a old fashioned out and out centre back, and Porteous is going to have that central role. Yeah,
well, then that's exactly what Ross McCrorie will bring. If we got McCrorie, it'd be exactly that. He'd be able to step into a few different positions that maybe Jackson wouldn't be able to do. And
like I say, looking at the squad now, obviously we're talking about potentially signing people. In terms of the way the squad is, Ben Sterling potentially one that can play at the back as well as a couple other positions. Is he somebody that can maybe be the squad depth? I know we've got like say McGregor. David Gray's been playing centre back at pre-season as well. Doig can obviously come into centre back. That's his more natural position. Do you see Ben Sterling keeping the squad depth, or do you think Hibs will bring somebody in before the window shuts?
I think we need better. I think we need better than what we've got in the team now, and I think we need somebody to challenge Hanlon, McGinn for their position. So I would say keep Sterling as an option, but with Jackson going, I think we need another first team centre back.
Stephen made a good point as well. With maybe experience wise, would you say Ben Sterling, Porteous, Doig as part of your 3? I know we're saying we want to get rid of the old guard and bring in young, but is that maybe too raw?
Go out in the transfer market and bring in a 25-year-old centre back.
I just don't know if it maybe is too raw. Now anyway, so. For all just kind of at the one time.
Coming at one time. I think if you've got to bring in development players, you need to bring them in different positions. And 3, obviously Porteous has been around the first team a bit more, but 3 potential under 20s, 22, 23-year-old players in your back 5 or back 3. I think it's just a bit too much.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, bit of an unknown with the transfer window, but we'll see if it's good to see that they're if the reports are true. It's good to see that they're trying to get somebody and permanently as well, getting away from loans, which is good. And only sort of final bit here: Fraser Murray linked with a loan move to Dunfermline. Just quickly, a good move for him if he can go out and get some first team football. Doesn't look like he's going to get towards that midfield at the moment.
Yeah, he needs to take it. He needs to go out and play.
Yeah.
I think Hibs should stick in a thing for an option to buy for Dunfermline if that's where he's going, because I can't see him. If he goes out on loan, for me, I don't think that's him coming back into the team. I think that'll be him, the same Scott Martin.
If he goes out and does well though,
yeah, no reason he can't come back to Hibs team.
Because he's one of them players that you see wee flashes and you're like, decent, and especially when he's driving through the middle, he's quite clever and.
you didn't see it enough because he doesn't get a run.
Exactly. So it's tough for a young laddie to come on and make an impression. You've got a lot of pressure to make an impression in say 10-15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes on the wing, the left wing, sometimes in the middle, sometimes on the right wing, sometimes deeper in midfield. Like playing different positions in 10-15 minute spells. It's hard for a young laddie to come in and show what they can do.
But you look at Tommy Block. Like, look at the praise he was getting before the start of the season. Like, he went out on loan, had an absolute stormer, and then he was away before pre-season even kicked off.
I think part of that was his choice as well. But like say, I think it's tough with like say players that are in the development league to judge what they can do. So yeah, we'll need to see. We'll see if he does get that loan move. Hopefully, he can prove gets a run of games and prove what he can do.
It'd be quite it wouldn't be like dangerous, but it'd be risky to put the option to buy for Dunfermline off the bat, because then he would go there knowing that he's probably not coming back to Hibs. I'd much rather he went there fully believing that he's got a chance at Hibs, and because that'll get the best of him, and then it will give us the probability of getting a better player back than if he goes to Dunfermline and thinking that's it.
Realistically though, that if he does come back, he's going to like take a holding position in our first team?
Potentially, I don't know how well he could do. He's not had a chance.
Yeah, I know, but that's what I'm saying though. Like you're talking about him like taking 10-15 minute spells and that in games, and that is he really going to take out Gogic, Allen, Hallberg, Malin, Horgan?
But that's the thing. Like look at a player like Nisbet, who was getting 10-15 minute spells at Partick Thistle, wasn't cutting it, and had to go away to initially Wraith Rovers and then Dunfermline and then now Hibs. Like say, maybe it's a confidence thing with players, and also getting that game time and giving that opportunity to play their own game.
It is just an opinion thing, but one of us have got to be right and one's got to be wrong. It's simple as that. Like.
So if he does go, we'll best of luck. We'll see what happens with that. So 3 wins out of 3 with a win against Dunfermline, away to Tannadice, 1-0 win. First half, any talking points?
No.
I mean, like say the Sky commentators were struggling at half time.
I'd just start in the second half, because it doesn't deserve any more time wasted on it. We wasted 45 minutes of our life. Let's not waste any more of it.
Gav only wasted like 30.
I was watching it in the car
on
the way. I had it on my iPad because I finished at 6, so aye. But I had the iPad up ready to go and watched it on my iPad, so I did see it all. I think the
bet you wish you never the way.
Well, I'd say what was the talking points? The McGinn injury, the Robson, which deserved to get booked whilst he was going off for the head knock. But yeah, so like I say, I've got rather than just sort of going through talking points from the game, like I say, I've got sort of talking points about going through the players and things like that instead. So like just overall on the game, then defence getting a lot of praise. On Monday's podcast, Craig was saying how he owed Paul Hanlon an apology. Felt he was sort of a contender for man of the match against Livingston. Really impressed with him in the first 2 games, and obviously another clean sheet now. Dave, what's your thoughts been on Hanlon so far this season?
He's been decent. He's been playing like how he was before he got injured. So
maybe a long stint off has been the best thing for him.
Possibly. I was actually listening to, this is off topic but it's relevant at the same time, I was listening to Sports Sound at the weekend, and there was a rugby guy on, and he was talking about how he feels that stint off has helped his body, and his body's recuperated in a way that it wouldn't be able to before. So it could maybe be for people that's got injuries like what Paul Hanlon had, maybe a recovery is what he needed. Yeah. Sorry, tangent.
No, that's a good point. And Stephen, like I said, Craig was also talking about the fact that he's got somebody beside him, and Doig, who more naturally is a centre back but playing at left back like he did when he was coming through. So have you not sort of been more of a leader? Obviously he's had that captain's armband a while, but sort of leading Doig through the game as well as others.
Yeah, I think obviously it's a different story, like basically managing Doig through a game as opposed to having Stevenson, who's been in the squad for 14 years now.
Who's your best mate, who you know inside out. You know where they're going to be more 100%. Than they do. And,
I think he's just taken up that responsibility. Plus, he seems to me like he's always been a confidence player. Mm-hmm. And when you're winning games, like it's only building confidence. He's brought up to a clean sheet now against Dundee United. Like it was a solid defensive display last night, and
all of them defended well. So keep it going. I just think like it'll be a bit more of a test when we come up against like the Old Firm or Aberdeen or something, but we'll see how he gets through it.
And thoughts on Doig so far then? Like I say, getting a lot of praise. 18-year-old, 3 games, helping the defence.
Yeah, much better when we switched formation to the 3-5-2 and he was getting up. I think going forward he looks really dangerous, and he was in about the goal, wasn't he? Trying to like half volley it in the box. So left back.
Yeah.
Well, if it came off for him, it would have been him that got the goal instead of Doig.
Doig said that.
Doig
said that he was like, I think Doig was trying to get in, and he was like, and he took it because he felt good about it. So I'm glad he did.
Yeah.
But it just shows you like that's the positions he's in. So.
No, it's great to see him getting forward. Like I say, he doesn't seem to lack confidence.
He's got a bit of pace about him as well. Like.
Aye. And I seen him speaking to Sky Sports during the week as well. 18-year-old getting interviewed by Sky Sports, calm as anything, spoke really well.
There was a couple of times he was knocking the ball in front of him and running onto it, and maybe at the angle he was doing it that out and out the park like twice, I think, and I was just like, oh, unlucky, because I didn't mind that. Like he's not just hoofing the ball up the park, he's knocking it round his man and running round the other side trying to go on it. Like, so I know I'm very pleased with him. I am.
And thoughts on the Doig and Nisbet partnership? That's obviously 2 full games together now, and sort of
5 goals between them.
Aye, 5 goals between them so far. So what's your thoughts been on them so far, Stephen? Starting with yourself.
A better Canberra and McLaren. That's a better version of them, I think. No, I think it is they've got that link up between them where both of them are taking responsibility on knocking the ball down, holding the ball up. You saw it when Nisbet was playing up front himself before Doig came on in the first game. Like he was the one that was holding the ball up and waiting for players to come in, and he's done really well. Impressed with him. And
Nisbet seems like he's not a player that's he's a player that's not afraid to either drop deep or drift out wide, or so where he can be effective.
I liked that he was like closing down and like proper pressing. You seen him like running back, helping the midfield and that. And I said that, I was like, Fraser Murray used to be good at that as well. Simon Murray used to be good at that as well. So it's good to see. Good to see.
And against Livingston, we're quite dangerous out wide, especially Horgan. And like I say, even though Boyle maybe didn't sort of create as much, still looked a threat. A bit quieter, the 2 wingers. Was that partly to do with the way Dundee United set up, or was it the narrow pitch, or what do you think sort of kept the wingers a bit quieter in this game?
I think narrow pitch. Narrow pitch had a bit to play with, because you did see that Boyle was cutting in a bit more. Never had the freedom to like knock the ball past his man and everything. But I would say it was more narrow pitch than anything, because never just couldn't put it out.
Dundee United did try and stifle quite a bit though, because they didn't really create anything in the whole match. It's not like we were under, I know like we were all sweaty palms towards the end of the match, but it was just because that was the nature of it. The balls were getting in the box and that, but they never actually created anything, which is fair play to defence, but it's also just shows maybe they've set up for a draw, and obviously we've scored and then they've kind of struggled to come up with anything after that. But I think that's probably why Boyle and Nisbet and that were quiet. Nisbet, Horgan. Yeah.
And Newell and Gogic, like I say, solid performances, but weren't really creating much through the middle. So good to see. Like, so obviously it's great to have that option, but great to see Ross making a tactical change to change formation, but also to bring on Scott Allen to give something a bit different. Yeah,
and I thought Newell benefited for the change as well, because I didn't think Newell was very good first half, but he was much better second half, and that's when the shape had changed. So I just think it worked much better when we changed it. We upped a gear. We showed we had an extra gear to take to Dundee United.
And away from what he actually sort of offered offensively, did Scott Allen look like he was a player to prove out with a point to prove that he should be playing?
100%. Like, I mean, it's probably been one of his best defensive performances since the 5-5 game against Rangers. Like, that was probably the last game that he was tracking back as much and putting in tackles. He won the ball back quite a few times as well, coming in from behind his man and stuff. Like, done really, really well. So it's good to see that side of his game.
You picked up on that last night while watching the game as well, Dave. Like say a lot of closing down from him.
He was gone for it. He never really done much on the ball, if I'm being honest. He did maybe a couple of like passes and that were alright, but it wasn't like a typical like Scotland performance that we're used to. But it was a bit different. It was more like a team performance, like closing everything down and winning the ball back, which is a wee bit different from what we're used to.
And like I say, I mean, I know we've already touched on it, with Doig trying to get the shot off, Doig taking over, and great finish from Doig on his left foot.
Yeah, you don't see that kind of shot for Doig very much now. But no, I think he says at the end of the game, he says that sometimes you just need to place it into the bottom corner, and sometimes you just need to blast it into the top of the net, and that's what he done. Like, good strike. It reminded me, hate going back to the boy, but Canberra strike against Celtic. It was that kind of shot, tight angle, put it into the roof of the net.
Not the biggest build up in terms of backswing with the shot, but still
100%.
getting a lot of power behind it, and impossible for keeper to deal with.
All his goals have been in the box. He's no
Poacher.
18 goals. He's no hitting the ball outside the box striker. Like, he is an ugly goal scorer, and I'll completely take it every day of the week.
Yeah.
Every day of the week. We need it.
And as you alluded to earlier on, Dave, it was quite a tense finish, but Dundee United didn't really create much. Credit to the defence for that.
That, and I think that Shankland has been a big loss, but it's more just his presence as a striker. Like, I think they were saying that Sporrell that came on for Robson, he was the one that scored against us at Tannadice. And he was completely out of the game, I think. So yeah, I think that the loss of Shankland up front, they never really had a target man or anybody to like put the ball in the back of the net, and I think that affected them because they never had done anything going forward.
They had the one chance, in fact, that
one shot,
Peter Pawlett,
yeah.
the kind of half volley that he did get a wee bit of pressure, but he should have done better with it.
Yeah,
they went wide, but I think that was probably their only chance that can actually reel a hinky.
It was their only shot on target, I think.
Off target.
Oh,
it was
off target.
target.
I don't think they had one shot on target.
No, it was a drilled shot down the middle. It was shite.
Yeah, there you go.
But like I say, I think like you make a great point there about Shankland. I think even just say somebody with a reputation of that, defences are going to be more aware of sort of trying to mark them, and then that can then leave space for other people to then exploit. So, but like I say, Dundee United side, who I think have done quite well in their first two games, and obviously were flying in the Championship last season, and a Kilmarnock side who have got a lot of plaudits as well. We've managed to hold on both those games and see out a 1-goal lead. What does it say about and without looking overly stressed, what does it say about the mental side of the team being able to see out those victories and also seeing out the clean sheet yesterday?
Well, it's a big change for the mental side that we were used to for a wee while, where we just knew we were going to fall apart. We knew we were going to concede goals if we went up. We were like, right, they're probably going to come back into it. It's a different side now, and confidence will just keep building with that. If you're winning ugly, like that crap football saying one game's ugly, it's true though. But we didn't play well and won.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like, I think maybe your chat with Jack Ross last week about sitting on leads had a wee bit of an effect, because even though you could see that we switched a wee bit more defensively, like we put it in a 5-3-2, we were still pushing forward like on the counter, and we done alright. We got a goal out of it the second half, but I think we took the pressure more. Like we handled the pressure a bit better when they obviously started panicking. They went 1-0 down. Like Dave says, I think they were playing for the draw and they didn't know what to do, so they were just firing everything forward. But we handled it. Like, they never got a shot on target really. Never caused much pressure on the defence. So it's a good improvement. Well done, Gav.
I'll take it.
It's not very often you get much praise on here, so I thought.
So we're going to try and make it 4 wins out of 4 on Saturday with Motherwell at Easter Road. Back at Easter Road, a later kick-off on Saturday. Thoughts on Motherwell tonight, Dave?
A wee bit. I don't know. They looked alright at times, but they're quite open at the back. Like, Livy, quite a lot of chances. And what did it finish to each?
Yeah.
I should have checked that.
I know we did start recording in like the 91st minute or something, but we kind of assumed it was going to finish out.
But Livy were the team that were kind of going for it.
Yeah. At Fir Park.
Yeah. So, and we did pay for it, by the way. Or Gav paid for it. 12 quid.
Is that how much you paid for it?
£12, aye. Just to get an eye on the opposition for the weekend. That's what gave me picked to pay for. That is dedication.
It is. I'm impressed, Gav, well done.
So Seedorf looked a bit more consistent. Like I say, I think there's been criticism of him for being a bit inconsistent, but decent performance from him tonight and looked a threat. One we'll probably need to keep an eye on.
He is rapid.
He's a luxury player. In that Motherwell team, I would say he's a luxury player.
I'd take him at Hibs.
100% I fucking would. I think he was one of my top transfer targets this season if we could have got a hold of him. But
if Boyle went, I know that's maybe Dre Wright's for, but I'd take Seedorf. Like,
I guess like say somebody that's maybe a bit younger than in terms of that mould like Boyle was, that you can then develop and then
what better pedigree do you have than being a Seedorf?
But they looked alright, Motherwell.
And Turnbull back fit and scoring, he'll be a big asset for them this season, won't he?
Yeah.
And one we'll need to keep an eye on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. I'm surprised that the whole, obviously Campbell played well too, but then Hastie was dropped. Obviously got hooked at half time at the weekend, and then that's him dropped this time. I just thought they three would have played really well together, so there's obviously something not quite moulding there.
Yeah, because like I say, on paper that sounds really good. Seedorf on one side, Hastie on the other, and then Turnbull, Campbell and another. It's a good midfield, especially like say with a few options up top as well. But I want to see if Hastie plays. White up top, a bit of a nuisance player, one that maybe a bit difficult to play against. He's a bit tall and stuff, but he scored goals. He scored goals at Livingston, and he went down south and he scored goals at Inverness. So we'll have to wait and see if he can cut at the Premiership. But he's a nuisance and a difficult a handful for defenders.
I just didn't like him.
Fair enough. And one thing, the final note from the game is Motherwell probably should have punished Robbie McCrorie. I'm glad it's the other McCrorie we're looking at, because he's hopeless, that goalie. He's kept on coming out, sweeper keeper, and they should have punished him a bit more. But anyway,
he was better last year.
Thoughts on their start to the season? And like say, obviously the lead in that game, finishing 2-2. They had the lead twice in that game, and then like say the first point of the season after 3 games. Not the best start from the team that finished third.
And they were quite solid last season. Like defensively, they brought in Lammy, who's punched the ball tonight. That's what I mean. They just seem a bit erratic. They don't seem as organised and settled. Or
Jenkins maybe because of like Robinson having all that like transfer talk and going to other clubs and stuff.
Well, one of the things I think that's been with it, Robinson was listening to his pre-match interview, and he was saying about how last season teams were just sort of playing their own games against them, and how they were able to then counter-attack and things like that. Whereas now teams are sitting deeper against them because they're the team that finished third and are trying to counter-attack against them, and it's like that they're now having to play against teams that are sitting deeper and break teams down, something they didn't have to do last season. So
teams maybe didn't treat them with respect.
How do we approach that? Do we approach them with respect and sit deeper, or
I
do we
hate to see us sit deeper against them, to be honest? Like, I think that we've got far too much going forward against that back four, and Carson's obviously kicking on a bit as well now. He must be in his pushing into his late 30s, I would say. I would go for it against them. I think we've got too much going forward to just sit back on it.
So getting to Hibs then, obviously we've seen a couple of changes in the last game. We've seen the 4-4-2, Scott Allen dropped. We've seen it change though during the Dundee United game to bring back Scott Allen and go to the 3-5-2. Again, I know what Stephen's answer is going to be, but Dave, starting with yourself, how would you set up?
Yeah, I would go with how we played when Scott Allen came on the other night. So I would go with the 3-5-2 with Scott Allen in the middle.
Take Newell
as
out.
like a free roll.
Yeah, I would take Newell out and put Scott Allen at the start. Yeah.
So would you play the 4-4-2 and play
3-5-2?
So you play Newell and
no, I would put Halberg in. Halberg done well when he came in. I would play Gogic, Allen and Halberg midfield.
I'd play Newell, Allen and
Gogic.
Yeah.
I would take Horgan it for Allen.
I was going to say Hallberg has been impressive off the bench in the last 2 games, especially Livingston. I thought he was good bursting into the box and winning the penalty. So maybe, like I say, I was going to ask, is he in contention for a start? But even like say when you said that there, my first reaction was that's a bit harsh on Newell, and I even had a question written down about that. So I don't know. I personally, I think Newell, Gogic and Allen was when we've seen them, that's been a good mix, a good blend in midfield, and they've balanced each other well out. So
I just think like rotation more than anything, to be honest. I think Hallberg would do a lot more against Motherwell, especially if they're willing to push forward. I think Hallberg just offers that wee bit more beside Gogic in terms of breaking up play and then putting the ball straight forward. And
I guess you could have the situation again we've said about Scott Allen coming on with a point to prove. Hallberg would be the same sort of thing, like I should be getting a start every week, not just like as a token gesture. I should be, and then he would have that point to prove.
Yeah, but I don't think he's done enough to prove that
right
now. I don't see the point of rotating. It was 3 games, we played 3 games. Like, I'd rather have solid starting 11. We moaned at Lennon for it. Lennon changed his team. We never had a solid 11. Have a solid 11 and you have players try to break into it, and then day rotation when you're deeper into the season or you've got games coming thick and fast. 3 games in,
I wouldn't say that taking one player out and putting one other player in's rotation though.
Like, that's how I've done it. That's what I said, put Allen in for Horgan.
Well, 2 players isn't going to make too much of a difference, is it?
We'll have to wait and see what the lineup is on Saturday. It's interesting to see. It's been encouraging though that Jack Ross has been changing his formation depending on the opposition and taking into consider their strengths and weaknesses, and then if things go different in a game, changing it mid-game, and it's great that we've got those options. So I can understand why people are saying about, we need to strengthen more in terms of the transfer market, but the squad is still in a really good place at the moment. So we'll finish up then. This has been a shorter podcast this week. It's the second one this week, so if you haven't listened to the other one, we reviewed the Livingston game, go check that out. But we'll finish up with the predictions for the Motherwell game. What's the score predictions for Saturday's game?
Oofed. 3-1.
3-1. Who's scoring for Motherwell? Turnbull?
Probably Turnbull.
I'm going to say 2-0 Hibs.
Love it. Love your confidence.
Yeah. I can't believe that stat, that this is the first time in 46 years we've won the first 3 games of the season.
Nuts.
I actually can't believe it.
How far back do we need to look to win 4 games in a row?
I think we match a Turnbull's record if we do 4, because I think they've done 4 as well.
Is that what they've done?
But how have we not won 3 games in a row at the start of the season?
Don't know.
I know a few years ago we won the first 2 because one of them was away at
Doesn't matter
Ibrox.
anyway, because we're not top of the league
and then
anymore.
we got beaten our 3rd one at Hamilton, and we went off a nut in the podcast, and mind folk were like, you were far too harsh. I'm like, well, tell you what, see if we ever lose at Hamilton again, then I listen to this, because I'm going to go fucking through them. Should not be losing to Hamilton.
But we've had quite a good record of winning our first game at home. Like, I think maybe the last 4 or 5 years in a row we've won the first game.
Just not kicked on after that.
Just not kicked on after it.
Just a mental stat. I actually feel that it's not true.
Scary.
It's made up.
Especially saying the championship and things like that.
It's crazy.
You look at our first 6 fixtures though, realistically there's no reason why we can't win all 6 of them.
So who have we got after?
We've got St Johnstone and Aberdeen as our next 2 games after Motherwell, have we not?
Motherwell at home, St Johnstone away, Aberdeen at home,
then Rangers?
St Mirren, and then Rangers at home, and then Celtic away.
Wow. When do we play Hearts?
Hey.
October
31st.
Aye.
And there'll be 50,000 high bees there because
Hearts are boycotting
it.
I will see if they stick to that. But yeah, okay, so I never done my score predictions. I honestly have no idea. Part of me wants to be like, I've got my heart in my head here. My head's like, say 1-1, say 1-1, say 1-1. But it's been a good start. Why not keep this confidence going? I'll go 1-0. I'll go 1-0 win. Just a bit scrappy again, but a 1-0 win.
I hope we keep it going. Just for Liam said it in our group chat, feel good factor is back. Like, it feels good. You were looking forward to Hibs games and football and that again.
Remember last time we did have a feel good factor and it just got pissed on as soon as we started.
You're a Hibs fan.
I know.
It's going to happen.
When was the last time we had 2 clean sheets in a row?
Alright, but I'd probably say the last time I had the really feel good factor was probably the Hecky 10 games unbeaten.
No,
but 6 of them no draws or something as well.
I never agreed with that.
I think
ever.
it was 4 or 3 were draws, 7 wins and 3 draws. I think I can't remember exactly.
I'm not going to take that away from them.
I can't see it being 7 wins and 3 draws.
Maybe 6 and 4. I don't know. We'll look it up afterwards. You can tell us what it was at HFC talking on the forums. So we'll finish up there. Shorter podcast this week. Make sure you check out the Monday's podcast if you haven't already. Like say, deep dive into the Livingston game and things like that. And it was Stuart and Craig, so different opinions.
That's why everybody's just listening to this one.
But yeah, right. So we'll finish up there, folks. Enjoy the game on Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weeks, and we'll speak to you next week.
Cheers.